The one thing that I do know is eventually it's going to work out. I don't need to know how and I don't need to know when. All I need to know is it is going to work out. Even if it means me pivoting a dozen times, everything will work out in the end. It just means that I need to be self-aware enough to know when to pivot and where to pivot. So what I would say to any aspiring or current business owners is, get rid of that imposter syndrome. Don't be afraid to throw yourself in it.
Welcome to the Goodman Factory Studio. You're here today on Arts to Goodman, the long-awaited, anticipated wait for you to come onto the show and talk about yourself, man. Let's talk about what's going on, what's happening in the world of Danny. Yeah, introduce yourself first.
Cool. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and it's been definitely a long time coming, so it's really good to be here, number one. My name's Danny. For those who don't know, I am the founder of Blacksmith London and the co-founder of a new health and wellness startup called Sonar. By day, I work in sales and partnerships in tech, and that's a bit about me.
Oh, sick. Wow, you're doing a lot of things. Are you currently working at the moment?
So actually, I'm in between jobs. As part of the many redundancies that are happening across the industry, I've been one of the ones who unfortunately have been impacted. So I've just recently left my job at Snap last month.
Okay, well, let's hold you there. We're going to continue with that one. I don't want to start that. We're going to get into the whole work thing later on in the conversation. Let's start from the beginning. Like, what uni did you go to? What did you study? What got you into tech?
Sure. So I studied economics for politics at Loughborough University. Graduated maybe about 4 years ago. Tech was a completely new world for me, to be honest. I actually did my placement year working in investment banking. I spent a year as an analyst at Goldman Sachs. Found out very quickly it wasn't sort of the right fit for me and what I wanted to do with my life. And just very luckily, I stumbled across opportunities at big tech. And so I applied for a grad role and ended up starting my career at Facebook, now known as Meta. And I'm actually moved out to Dublin in Ireland, spent 2.5 years working over there.
Oh, sick. So you started at Facebook.
Yeah.
Went on to Snapchat after.
So I've been around a bit. So I did Facebook for 2.5 years. Over lockdown, TikTok was popping a lot. I actually got recruited to go work over there, so spent some time at TikTok. And then I got given a really good opportunity to go work at a more senior team at Snapchat. So decided to go with my gut, make another move, jump ship, went to Snap, spent about 1.5 years over there managing our big partnerships with fashion luxury brands like Nike, Adidas, LVMH, Levi's, and more.
So you went the traditional route after university. You ended up at Goldman Sachs. Like, what got you into tech? Because obviously, like a lot of these tech companies are built in countries and built in communities that I could say were less represented in. What kind of, was it word of mouth? Was it recruitment? How did you get into the tech space?
So it's a funny story to get into tech, really. I mean, especially back at that time, I feel like now people are a lot more aware of working in big tech and what it's like to work at these really cool companies like Google and Facebook and so on. But 4 or 5 years ago, people weren't really thinking of that. They were thinking of the traditional corporate route like law and finance and investment banking. And especially at Loughborough University, I'd never heard or seen of anybody who had gone down that route except for people who had studied engineering. I think one thing that I learned about my time during Goldman Sachs was for me to spend so much time, effort and energy in a day job, I really needed to care about what they did. And being transparent, I didn't feel like I was emotionally invested in what Goldman Sachs did. And I know that I'm saying that from a privileged position because so many people would feel so lucky and grateful to work at Goldman Sachs, and rightly so. But I wanted to work for a brand that I believed in. And so I was at university, it's a late night, and I'm thinking, what do I want to do once I graduate? I know that I don't want to go back to Goldman Sachs. I had an offer on the table, definitely didn't want to go back. So I opened up my phone, I opened up my laptop, I looked around my room and I thought, okay, what brands am I a consumer of? And I looked at Nike and Gymshark, Google or YouTube. And obviously I thought, okay, like I love Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram. And that's literally how I stumbled across the opportunity. I saw that there were roles out there where you didn't need to have a software background or an engineering background. And I love working with people. I love the idea of working with businesses and being client facing. And that's what got me into sales and moving into tech. Best decision I could have ever made.
What kind of characteristics did you need to kind of like overcome the anxiety of obviously rejection and so on, and getting into those type of roles. Obviously, they're very competitive and they're popular companies, so a lot of people would want to work for Facebooks, the Googles, the Snapchats. What type of characteristics do you feel at the time you had that allowed you to do that?
Yeah, I think, and I feel like I've been like this for many years now. I've always had the mindset of jump at risks and take calculated risks where your loss is very minimal. For me, I felt like by applying to a company like Facebook, the only thing I'm really losing is 5 minutes of my time to fill out an application form and submit my CV. Obviously, once you're in the process, then it takes hours and hours of hard work and preparation, and you go through that stress and that anxiety of all of the interviews and the process you go through. But I just think the way I saw it is you shoot your shot, and the worst that happens is you miss and you just shoot again at another company, another opportunity. And so that's literally what I did at Whim. I think, the more a person thinks about these things, the more sometimes they can get stuck in their head. Sometimes you just got to go for it, and whatever happens, happens, and you pivot that way.
Where did that come from? I find that very interesting that like from a young age, if you mind me asking what age, how old are you?
26,
26.
27.
You basically kind of just come out of uni gun blazing, attacking these opportunities and giving it your all and having the confidence. Where did that come from? Because surely, obviously, you're not the only one that studied the degree you did, and I'm sure everyone gets 2-1s, and there's more people getting 2-1s and first now in university. But obviously, there's that extra eye of the tiger, we would say, that you're having. And when it comes to approaching this thing, where does your confidence come from? Where's it rooted?
You know what? Ironically, my confidence comes from a place of fear and insecurity. And it's the fear of what I saw growing up and the insecurity around it. I grew up in a very average, maybe slightly below average household from a financial perspective. My parents migrated to this country from Pakistan. I was born here in East London, and then I grew up in Essex. But the lifestyle that I grew up around was around financial stress and around fear of taking steps forward to progress. I saw a lot of stagnancy growing up in my childhood, and I saw a lot of scarcity and a scarcity mindset growing up, and completely understandable given the background that my parents came from. But that, I think, planted a seed in my mind so deeply that I knew I didn't want that for my life. And so the fear of having that lifestyle or living a life of scarcity and financial stress and professional and career stress is just not something I wanted for myself. And I thought, while I have this opportunity in my 20s to take risks and thankfully not have as much of a consequence as to, when I'm perhaps like married and I have kids and I've got a mortgage, like now is the time to run full steam ahead at all of these opportunities, all guns blazing, and just try and do whatever I can to build a life that I'm proud and passionate about.
From what you have said, it seems like your motivation is very seasoned. It's something that's been there for a long time. You talked about how you were exposed to, let's say, the misfortunes of your parents and them being under financial stress. How has that played, like your parents' relationship? I saw from your Instagram that you're very close with your dad, and that relationship, how has that also helped with the making of Danny? Obviously,
Yeah,
he did birth you, but yeah.
it's interesting, and it's actually something I've been working on in therapy for a long time now, where my relationship with my dad has been one of, I'd say, hardship, but a lot of reward. I think my dad tried his very best, especially during my early years, to mold me into what he saw a stereotypically strong man to be. He wanted to ensure that I was somebody who could overcome adversity, could provide, who could take accountability, who could be responsible not only for myself but others around me. And it's a lot of pressure to put on someone. I think that instilled insecurity and anxiety in me, but at the same time taught me a lot of valuable lessons around hard work and perseverance and risk taking and fearlessness in the right way. I watched my dad work tirelessly, and I've seen him do that all of my life. Sometimes to a fault where it's, I think, adversely impacted his health, his ability to be present sometimes at home, his ability to just be content and happy and healthy even himself. So I think having watched that, to be honest, made me fear what I would become and made me feel insecure about it. I didn't want to become like him. But as I've grown up, I've actually matured and appreciated so many of the lessons that he instilled in me. And I've really come to understand a lot of the value and support that he tried to give me. And so now I'm trying to do a better job of building a stronger, not even relationship, I'd actually say friendship with my dad. So that as he ages, I can now support him in the right way and be a good son to him. And eventually when I'm a dad, try and pass on some of those lessons in the right way.
No, it's amazing to see how when I mentioned your dad, it made you glow up and you had a smile, and it almost gave me really a childhood vibe, like, okay, this is something that's deep, that resonates in you. I know for myself, like, I didn't appreciate what my mum had done for me because I'm raised, my mum was a widow, and I didn't grow up with my dad, but my mum kind of had to play the both roles because obviously of my dad passing away, unfortunately. And she did a lot of things, and I used to think she was very harsh on me, but she was just trying her best to not allow me to kind of miss out on that masculine energy that's required, obviously, to develop to become the best man you could possibly be. In regards to like how hard he was with you and so on and so on, and I think there's some sense of forgiveness that we have to have for our parents because obviously they winged it. They're the first of their generation into this country. How did you go about forgiving your father for the times you felt that it was unfair and so on and so?
It's so tough, so tough. And even now, there are times where, me and him might clash, and I can still feel like I'm holding a lot of years of resentment and bitterness. And, when you think about things rationally and calmly, you can see and appreciate and understand and forgive and show empathy. But in the heat of the moment, your ego plays up, and, you think about all of the traumas and the micro traumas that you went through. I think empathy is one of the toughest but most important things to lead with at all times. And I think over the years, through therapy, through a lot of work I've done myself, I'm in a better position now to not only forgive him, but also understand him and the circumstances from which he came from, and his own stress and his own anxiety. And to your point, he was winging it. He did the best that he could with what he knew and with what he had. And I have to appreciate that. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. And obviously, my mum as well. So yes, there's a lot of work that I've done, but the foundation that I think my family set for me is something that I can never overlook.
No, that's amazing. I think one thing I'm not particularly a religious person, but one thing I've always kind of known from young was God wouldn't put you through something you couldn't cope with, you know what I mean? And I feel
I hope so.
yeah, I feel like it's been hard for us, but at the same time, it's like a bittersweet symphony type of thing where it's like, you go through this, but then it's made a beautiful flower, and like it's made the man that you are today. So yeah, let's move on to now talking about you and your business now. So between all of this, you've gone from Facebook to Snapchat,
TikTok to
no,
Snapchat.
TikTok to Snapchat, and in between all of that, because I
Yeah.
met you through actually taking photos and
Yeah.
doing photography, you had a jewelry brand. Could you
Yeah.
tell us about that?
Yeah, so I started my jewelry brand, Blacksmith London, which I'm wearing now, back in 2020 in the summer. So right at the start of the pandemic, which arguably was not the best time to start a business. And I started because I've always been super passionate about business and have known from around the age of 18, 19 that one day I just want to build my own brands, have a lot of fun doing it, make a positive impact, and hopefully create opportunity for others. That's been like a deep understanding in myself since the age of 18, 19. I didn't know what the brand's going to be, what the business is going to be, but I just knew that eventually that's what's going to happen, and that's what I want to do. I love jewelry. I've been wearing jewelry for many years, and I actually tried and failed to launch my first fashion brand when I was at university. Ran out of money very, very quickly. Learned lessons the hard way that it's not just as easy as, slapping a logo on a t-shirt. There's so many variables and factors to think about. So I failed that business, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to come back to business at the right time. And so Blacksmith London was born out of the passion of, I want to start a business, I want to learn about business, and I love jewelry, so I'm going to put it all together. There's only so many podcasts you can listen to, books you can read about business. The best way of learning anything is by doing and trying and failing. And that's what Blacksmith was born out of, passion and just the want of learning and education. I'm partnered with a mental health charity called Young Minds, so 5% of all the sales that I make go to support mental health for children, teens and young adults up to the age of 24. I wanted to make sure that Blacksmith London was contributing and giving back in any way it could, even at its early phase. So it's been about 2 years, just over 2 years now of running the business. And I think have learned so much, have made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I've had so much fun. I think it's opened so many doors for me at the same time. So I think my life completely changed as a result of starting this.
Perfect. That's really a beautiful journey. I think what we're gonna do is talk about the mistakes, because I feel definitely there's a lot of mistakes that I feel like would be beneficial to people that want to start a business, are looking in that lane, they have a job. How did they manage the two? You said you worked at Goldman Sachs, and obviously Goldman Sachs is a private bank, right, institution, and and a lot of the stuff they do is invest in businesses. So like you coming from that field, you said one thing that you ran out of money. And because obviously you've worked in it, why wouldn't you have, like, obviously coming from an economics, I'm like, why didn't you borrow or have people invested in your business? So, like, why didn't you go that route and go the route of spending your own money?
I wish I had thought about it, to be honest. I think it initially came from a place of, A, let me start small and just test this thing out. But B, the naivety of, I can do this by myself and I don't need to take a loan out or look for funding or investment. I was 21, 22 at the time of starting, and there are so many young people who are much smarter than I was at that age and have done much better jobs than I have. I didn't even think about that as an option, because I thought, who's going to look at me and say, I'm going to invest in this fashion brand? Early days, let me start very small with my own money, prove something, and then maybe later on I can get funding. But I think funding and financing seemed like such an alien concept to me. Ironically, even though I came from an economics background and I came from spending a year at Goldman Sachs, I thought that someone like me wouldn't get access to funding like that. Now, over the years, I've really realized it's a complete opposite. Even though to this day, underrepresented communities are heavily underfunded whether it comes to angel investing or VC funding, bank loans and so on, there's still a massive challenge to overcome in that space. I think even more so back then. If I wish that I had the access to the information or the awareness or even just the confidence to even try getting funding at that time. But at the same time, I'm also glad that I didn't, because I now know that I wasn't ready. And it was the right thing for me to fail at that time and to run out of money and to learn that valuable lesson to financially manage your business a lot more effectively.
I know you're enjoying this conversation, but I'm here to remind you that this episode is sponsored by Goodman Beard Oil, plant-based, chemical-free beard oil to soften and moisturize your facial hair. Order now, goodmanfactory.com, and use code GPOD1 and become a Goodman today.
Failing. How did your business fail make you feel? Because I'm sure like there's secondhand embarrassment you're gonna feel. Like obviously your ego's at play. I feel like for every entrepreneur you have to be delusional. I've always said this. Me and my mates talk about this delusional thing. Like you need to be insane that I will pick your clothes over someone else's, or pick what you're
100%.
providing
Yeah.
over someone else's. Why should I pick you? And it's the delusion that says, well, I'm going to achieve that, I'm going to provide that value, so you do that. How did it feel to kind of lose it all?
Embarrassing, that's for sure. I think you made a really good point around ego. You know, your ego is the first thing to always flare up and to respond. And it felt like a bit of a gut punch to know in myself that like I didn't do the right job, but also to then tell your friends, hey guys, this thing that I was so excited about and I told you all about, and I said, yeah, this is coming and I'm gonna blow it up and it's gonna be the next big thing. Yeah, by the way, like it's not happening because it flopped and I didn't do the right things, and people asking you 21 questions, or what happened, why did it happen, and having to explain and give that story to them stings a bit. It definitely does sting. I think after the dust settled, I really realized that, time moves very quickly. People forget very quickly. And for the most part, I don't think people care that much if you've taken an L or failed. Especially friends, like they're there to support you, especially during times like that. So I think I moved on very quickly, and I was lucky to do so. Take it in my stride and accept that I'm young, I can come back to this at the right time. I think it's tougher now with Blacksmith, having spent over 2 years on the business. I think this year has been quite tough and has felt quite stagnant, to be honest. I haven't seen the growth or the returns that I've been looking for. This year has felt tougher to tell people over several months that, hey, Blacksmith has slowed down, or when people ask me how's the business going, it's a tougher conversation to have now at this age and at this stage versus when I was a kid at university.
And why is that?
I think people, or at least I perceive that people have more of an expectation of me, having worked at all of these big companies, this being my second business. I theoretically should have far more experience and expertise and skill at doing this. So I think because of the expectation, I feel like at least is in my head, there's a bit more pressure that comes behind it. Again, I know that realistically, that's probably not the case, but I can't help but have that inner voice in the back of your head that sometimes talks to you and talks down, in your, again, ego. But sometimes that inner voice does definitely, I think, give me waves of imposter syndrome.
You mentioned imposter syndrome. I think that's what 99% of our people are, from the Black and Asian community, are suffering from. Obviously, it's not always a thing where we're born with the confidence. I feel like our confidence kind of is very deep rooted in the child, how we're raised as children. And one thing that always amazed me working in the tech world and doing events and filming and is the confidence that other people have and how they came to that. And obviously some of it, it is imposter syndrome, but I feel also kind of seeing how they interact. And like I said, you're seeing the Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, like when we talk about Amazon, you're talking about a company who ran out of money several times, but he was delusional enough to say, you know what, keep investing, we're gonna keep, and now they're basically the biggest company in the world. How do you feel like your upbringing affected how you responded to failure in the business world?
I think that, so context before I directly answer that question is, my dad has always run his own small businesses. He's never worked a formal traditional job in this country. And I've watched him go from business to business to business, for us to be able to get by. And so I think watching his, I would say, to use your terminology, which I think is really accurate, delusion and persistence, and seeing the never-ending fighting spirit that he has even to this day at his age of 58, definitely taught me to keep going. And then at the same time, on the opposite end, at home, watching my parents say, well, we can't do this, we can't afford to do that, and we can't, about so many things, definitely pushed me, I think unintentionally, to tell myself, no, I can do anything and everything, and I don't want to be imprisoned by that fear of, again, scarcity or what if things don't work out. It's a weird one because I think in the business space, my dad's always kept going, but then within business, he's, I think, still carried over that scarcity mindset and hasn't scaled upwards. And I think sometimes that's what separates a business owner from an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur is willing and able to innovate and problem solve and grow and scale and has that hunger around it and that delusion. A business owner, to generalize, can set up a business and then is happy to go with the status quo or to continue with how things are running. I feel like seeing that both in my dad's business but also within the home and within my family life growing up definitely taught me to create a life of abundance and also to pursue things like fiercely and passionately. So now within business, in spite of my waves of imposter syndrome or, some of the L's that I've taken not only this year but in the past business or, with the new business has been very, very hard, and, we'll get onto that later on. The one thing that I do know is eventually it's going to work out. I don't need to know how and I don't need to know when. All I need to know is it is going to work out. Even if it means me pivoting a dozen times, everything will work out in the end. It just means that I need to be self-aware enough to know when to pivot and where to pivot.
You're learning from your dad that, okay, cool, this ain't working. You pivot, change, and be quick to change and so on. So obviously what's kind of different with your dad's life is that obviously he had you as kids and he had to provide, and you don't have that. But do you feel like also like it's made you delay the thought of stuff like marriage, having children, because you want to be having that life of abundance? Because it's almost like, I don't know, do you feel like London life makes you feel that you can't think abundantly, you can't have both, you can't have it all? Do you feel like you have to be realistic?
I think a bit of both. I think London's so expensive, you almost have to be a bit realistic and practical about things. And things like getting married, starting a family, I don't want to do it in a place of financial pressure. I know that I want to do it out of a place of security and stability and a strong foundation, one that's long lasting. And when it comes to things like marriage, starting a family and, having a home around it, I don't want to half-ass it either. I want to make sure that I'm providing and I'm able to provide a comfortable and stable and secure life for my future family. So yeah, I think that has delayed it. And also what's delayed it is I'm coming from a place of privilege. You made a really good point of my parents, their circumstances were such that they had to do whatever they could. They didn't have the freedom and flexibility that perhaps I have now. And I have that now because of the generation I'm in, because of my circumstances, the time that we're in, and also because of what they provided for me. So I can do that. I can pursue a life of abundance and enjoy my London life because I'm coming from a privileged background and because my parents have gone through that hardship. And actually, I think London also inspires me to do so. I think for me, I love the energy and the pace of the city life. I love London. I love the ambition in London, the hunger, the pace at which everybody moves. For me, that instills a lot of energy in me. And I think it's helping to build my mindset and who I am and my approach to things like business and career and so on.
One thing you did mention that I really loved is talking about London. I remember coming into the creative scene and not having a clue and so on. There was back in the day, I don't know if people do it now, but we used to literally go to Shoreditch, pretend to work at Ace Hotel ain't around anymore, and just literally network, let people know what you do and so on. So how much influence has London had on, let's say, the hustle? Because obviously London's similar to, I don't know if you've been to New York, where everyone's just on the go. It's just bricks, mortar, advertising everywhere. And you're in a place where it's very competitive. Obviously, you're originally from Essex, more like...
East
Essex,
London, Essex,
East London, Essex. the difference of coming into central London and kind of seeing and competing with people. How much did that play in your motivation to be successful in your business?
I think a lot, and I think, you mentioned network, and that's huge. I don't think I would have access to the same network if I didn't live in London. London has given me the opportunity to learn from so many people, but also connect with so many great people from lots of different backgrounds, not just in terms of ethnicity and race and religion, but also in terms of their experience and their professional backgrounds. And that's taught me a lot. It's given me the opportunity to do things like this, for example, and even be here. And things that you guys are doing at Goodman continues to inspire me every single day, not just in my personal life, but also in my business. So I think London and the energy around London, the people of London it really represents the heart of business and ambition. And I know that in America, they talk about the American dream a lot, but I feel like London also emulates that in its own way. And I think it can't be copied anywhere else, not in this country anyway. New York is another city I absolutely love, and I would love to go and live and work there, at least for a couple of years at some point. So yeah, New York, London, cities like that, I think continue to fuel me all the time.
No, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I think what I love about London is the diversity, and it gives you so many different flavors that whatever you come out with, I think everyone in London is unique because no one's had an environment where there's just one type of people there. You might have places where it's populated with a group of community, but there'll still be a black child in the school, there'll still be a white person, there'll still be an Asian person, there'll still be just different cultures in East London. And obviously the stats talk about that. Like London literally is its own place compared to the whole UK in the sense of diversity. And that's kind of made a lot of people's ideas, I would say, colourful, you know what I mean? So let's go back to your business, Blacksmith London. One thing that you said is you. How does the mechanics work? Obviously, you have to advertise your product. You have to make the product.
I'm customer service,
do customer
logistics,
service,
everything.
How much of that is automated? How does it work? Like, how do you do it? Because I also know one thing that we didn't mention in the beginning is you're a content creator.
Yeah.
You create content, and you've done content for brands, and you've done content for yourself. How does that work? How do you put it all together?
I think so. Actually, this is one of the mistakes that I made with my business early on. Is I thought that by putting myself as the face of the business, I'm limiting myself, and I wanted to champion diversity in my own way and work with people from different backgrounds and move away from the business in terms of being the face. And although I did it with the right intention, the negative outcome of that was I ended up overspending money on influencer marketing and photo shoots and hiring models and all of that. All of which are great things to do and important things to do, but the stage of business that I was at and I started the business with £1,100. So starting the business with such a small budget meant that I should have been smarter and actually should have been okay with being the face of the brand. I'm a content creator. I should be creating content for my own brand and champion my own brand in the right way. Yes, I was posting a few things here and there, and on my personal accounts, I was posting about my business, but I think I should have embraced the concept of being my own model, being my own content creator. It would have saved me a lot of money, saved me a lot of time, and I think I could have grown the business a lot quicker. That's something I think I've learned late, and now I'm trying to embrace it a bit more. So what I would say to any aspiring or current business owners is, get rid of that imposter syndrome. Don't be afraid to throw yourself in it. Put yourself on TikTok, put yourself on Instagram, put yourself on YouTube. If you want to start a podcast as well, be the face and the voice of your brand. Champion it because you believe in your business, and so you should represent your business in the best way possible, and you know how you want that to be executed. Yeah, if you've got the budget and the scope and flexibility to do so, of course, invest in creator and influencer marketing. It's huge and it's only going to get bigger in my opinion. But I think do it in the right way and do it in the right time. I wish I had learnt that sooner.
I wish I learned a lot of things in business sooner.
100%.
One thing I want to actually go back to is what you talked about, networking.
Yeah.
One of the things that's helped with me and Rizzy when we started Goodman Factory is our ability to network. I don't really like doing it as much, but I know it's something I have to do and I have to speak to people. I love people, don't get it twisted, but sometimes I don't want to sound like, I'm talking rubbish, or I'm just talking from a perspective of like, you know, just I just get too concerned. I get too much anxiety about what people might exactly think of me. So that has affected. I knowingly know that's affected my ability to network. I'm a lot better now as time has gone, but at the beginning it was a problem for me. I didn't want to do the graft. Whereas my business partner Riz, top tier network. He'll talk to whoever he wants. He doesn't really care who you are. Hi, my name is, and boom. So like, what gave you the confidence, and or what barriers did you have to overcome when it came to networking?
I think the first thing that I needed to overcome was the fear of, does somebody want to chat to me or not, or am I going to be able to have a meaningful conversation with this person? Like, what do you say? How do you introduce yourself? I think very quickly you realize, especially at a networking event or any type of event, everybody's pretty much in the same boat, and most people are probably thinking the same thing. So to be honest, sometimes it's a bit of a case of baptism by fire. You just got to put yourself out there. And I know it's easier said than done, 100%, but the only way that you're going to get better at these things, I learned, was to do it repeatedly, do it consistently, and to force yourself to do it. The more you think about something, the more sometimes fearful you can become. Sometimes it's best to think less and just do more. I think I'm lucky in a way where I like meeting new people. I love talking to people. I was definitely a lot more extrovert than I am now. I think I'm a lot more comfortable in my own space now, but I think especially in my early 20s and when I first started out my career, I was really happy to network and put myself out there and meet new people, and I found it actually quite exciting for the most part. The only time I found it daunting is talking to people that are a lot more senior than me, and the imposter syndrome around that, like just thinking I'm just a kid, why do they want to talk to me? But I think you'd be surprised where everybody has something to offer, not in a transactional way, but in terms of value to add, and even just being themselves. I think you can actually really make a difference and contribute to somebody's day, evening, time at an event by just going up and saying hello. I think networking has been game changing, not just for my career. If it wasn't for networking, I wouldn't have been offered the job at Snap. I wouldn't have been offered the job at TikTok. But networking has also helped me to get access to business opportunities and to work with some really great, talented and creative people in this space.
I think that's definitely my story, and everyone I know that actually, you know, networks. I actually admire people that can do it effortlessly. I think even just the first day we met, you were talking to me like we spoke, and I know you from somewhere. Like I was like, wait, do I know Danny? Did I meet him before this? But we had a comfortable shoot, and I admire that about you. There's one thing you did say, going back to obviously the mechanics of your business, how it was moving, how you did the marketing by yourself, you raised the money by yourself, you thought of the idea by yourself, you did majority of the designs by yourself, you rarely outsourced it except for getting influencer marketing. That is a lot of stuff. I'm happy that I have a business partner like Riz, because that divides literally my work into two. There's things that I do not think about when it comes to the business at all. With yourself, how did the first time around when you went with Blacksmith, how did that affect your mental health? Because you're doing a lot of stuff. Like, I don't think it's normal for one person to be doing that much. And obviously help is very important. Did you ask for help? But first of all, how did it affect your mental health?
I think it affected my mental health a lot more than I thought it would. I've always typically been somebody who is able and willing to put hours and hours into work and whatever I'm passionate about. I think to a fault. I think I have gone through multiple episodes of burnout, poor sleep hygiene, adverse effects on even my physical health. I think when your mental isn't good, even though I'm still trying to go to the gym and everything, you're just not performing in the right way. Found it very, very hard to be able to switch off. And I think slowing down your brain when it's moving 100 miles an hour, especially when you know that you care so much about something, that you want to pour so much energy into it, it's very hard to intentionally step away from it at the right time and in the right way. I think I've been very lucky to have been surrounded by some really great people. For example, the night that I launched Blacksmith London, the night before, at 6 p.m, I was looking at my website. the day before I'm going to launch, I'm thinking this whole thing is trash. I'm not happy with it. I scrapped the entire thing. I redid the entire website, and I was up until 4 a.m. redoing the entire thing. And I was very, very lucky. 2 of my friends stayed up with me on FaceTime to help me on the website, to give me feedback, test out different features on the website until I was fully happy. And then I went to bed. I woke up a few hours later, started work at 9 a.m. At lunchtime, in my lunch break, I launched the website. I think that the conversation around mental well-being, entrepreneurship, or even in the corporate world is a very delicate one, because balance is so important. You know, you and I both know it, and I'm a massive advocate for rest, especially from a mental perspective, and ensuring that people are putting their well-being and health first. And you know, I'm trying to do that as well in my life. But there is also that harsh reality of when you're starting something new, especially in the business space, you do have to be prepared for a lot of long nights and a lot of hard work, a lot of failure, and a lot of mental strain. If I could go back, I would definitely tell myself to take more breaks, but not in the sense of, I was taking breaks in the sense of, I've got some time, let me go burn some energy and go, see my friends or my family or go out. I don't think I was doing things the right way, because I was continuing to burn myself out by giving other people energy. Yes, I was having a great time, I was enjoying myself, but actually the best thing that I could have done for myself at that time was to enjoy silence, enjoy some solitude, switching off from devices. And I wish I did that a bit more, because I think actually I would have been far more productive and far more switched on when it came to my business and the day job as well. I think balancing both was so tough. I had to be very, very disciplined and dedicated and strict with myself in terms of how I was allocating my time. Simple things like to-do lists, blocking out your calendar, staying on top of a consistent routine helped me. But at the same time, what I didn't prioritize was sleep and stillness, and I wish I did.
It's great that you have so much self-awareness, and I think it's beautiful, because like at least now you could kind of almost step away from you and look at what's going on and just say, okay, I need to chill. It's not going to be the end of the world if I don't complete this. Yeah, there might be some unhappy customers, but I'll make it up to them. Yeah. But I need to be right to do that. You know, it's almost like being in a relationship, and if you're not happy, you're not going to be the best type of partner. And I think that's kind of the relationship it is with business. You said something about burnout, and I think in your words, how would you describe what the symptoms, what burnout looks like for people that want to, obviously, who are concerned about loved ones that are in business or in work? What does burnout look like?
Burnout for me, I feel like starts with absence, being a bit absent-minded. You could be talking to a friend, for example, who could be dealing with burnout, and you can see it in their eyes, in their body language, in the way that they're responding to you, or maybe missing what you're saying because of just pure exhaustion and an inability to focus on what you're saying. I think that's, some of the signs that I've noticed first in myself. I'm not able to be present with the people that I care about. Secondly, you can see it physically as well. You could be super burnt out and think, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, for example, and your body's not moving the way you'd expect it to move. You're not able to, for example, lift the same weights. You can't move in the same way. You're not able to respond in the same way. There are so many symptoms of burnout, but I think in myself, what I've noticed is that emotional absence, that mental absence, and also like a numbness to what is going on around me. And I think, those are the red flags that I notice in myself if I'm experiencing burnout and I don't feel like I'm myself when I go through it.
That obviously will give a lot of people more clarity, because I'm sure like there's been times where I don't think people have been able to acknowledge that I'm tired, maybe because I have a nonchalant look to myself. But there's been times I've only realized later on, like, oh, at this point I was really burnt out. And that's why I turned off my phone for 2 days, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then I'm recharged again, and I could go about at 100 miles per hour. I think slowing down and actually acknowledging what's going on is something that is an art. I don't think it's easy. A lot of things, they are things that in our head that it doesn't matter what we say to ourselves, we still feel like requires urgent attention. and obviously like being a creative in general will kind of make you very sensitive to how the output of your work, how it looks, and you become nitpicky and stuff that ain't that deep. And sometimes I've just got to the stage of my life where it's just let it go. You know what I mean? Put it out there. And some of the best performing content I've ever done have been things that, you know what, fuck
Post and go.
fuck it. So that leads on to my next question about like the creator economy. You know, you create you do a type of content called, is it user generated content? First time saying it. I've always seen it as UGC, but user generated content. And that's becoming a big thing. It's blowing up. You know, people's brands aren't affected. A lot of brands want to work with a lot of talent and create so much content at a rate that obviously is unsustainable to be able to do it in-house. And obviously that's stuff that you probably will start thinking about in the future for Blacksmith. And you could also create it for yourself because you know what works for the other brands, and you've done it for Goodman Factory. What do you think of the current state of the content economy?
I'm really happy with the direction it's going in. I think before TikTok, we were in a place where the creator economy was highly polished. I think there was a lot of concentration around bigger creators on YouTube and on Instagram. And I think Instagram and YouTube have always been very tough to crack for new people. You know, Instagram for me is still something that I don't feel like I've cracked yet, and I'm still trying really hard to grow my account. I think TikTok came along and completely changed the game. TikTok showed people that with their algorithm, they were able to democratize creativity, meaning you could jump on the platform tomorrow and next week one of your videos could blow up. And I think by doing that, they've given everybody a relatively fair chance compared to some of the other platforms. Now, more than ever, and I think the generation below me, the Gen Zs, I'm not Gen Z, just about care so much about authenticity that these, you know, highly edited, highly polished photos that you might see on other platforms don't hold the same weight as what they once did. Now people want to see people like themselves, authentic content. They want to see rawness. They want to see real, unedited testimonials from people where, you know, they haven't been paid for a product, for example. I think, you know, one thing that I love about Goodman Factory is before I ever get a message from you guys with a brief to work on something, I already know that I'm going to use this product for free anyway. I've been using it for 2.5 years, so I'm going to continue to use it. So if I can now help you guys and create content, that's a win-win situation. And not only is it good for me, but it's good for my audience because my audience only want to see things that I genuinely use and genuinely care about. And if they're invested in me, then when I'm invested in a brand, those things resonate. So I think the creator economy is heading in the right direction. I think we are going to continue to head in a direction where authenticity wins. And I feel like in a video first economy, things like Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts are going to be the places where short form content delivers clear, succinct messages. Brands can win, small businesses can win because they don't need big production, they don't need high budget production, edited videos for their ads. Now they can rely on their community to champion their product and brand.
That's like literally the foundation to Goodman Factory. It was built on community. We wouldn't exist if not for guys like you and the people in our community that embrace what we're talking about and support what we're doing. Also, that comes with its problems because you create a video and after 1 week, where's the next one, mate?
Yeah.
We need more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you get anxiety or do you get any pressures from having to create a lot of content? And do you take breaks from it? Because obviously you know how it is. Once you start making content, people are expecting that new Danny video. Like every week I follow you on TikTok and I love your day in the life. I'm like, I was speaking to Riz about like, I love it. You are literally the blueprint of how I'd want to do the day in lives on TikTok because they're easier. It's just pim, pim, pim.
Yeah.
Just snapping through your day and then putting it and then narrating it and so on. So do you feel like there's days you don't want to do it?
So many days. You I just want to exist. And I feel like having to think about, I need to get my camera out, I need to get my camera or my phone out all the time can be a bit draining, a bit exhausting sometimes. So I do think and people in general, you need to set boundaries around when am I creating content, when am I not. For example, today I'm creating content, so I'm going with the mindset of my phone's coming out. But tomorrow, probably not as much. You need to know when to switch on and when to switch off.
I feel like it's because we're so connected to social media, and I think, I won't say the word, but obviously 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time in our houses, we spent a lot of time on our phones. And I think we're trying, obviously you had a reason to be on your phone then, but when you have work and you have to maintain a level of focus at work and at what you're doing, being on your phone can become more of a hazard to your day. Because obviously filming content, there's attempts. You might not do it once, you might have to do it again, you might have to do that walk again, you might have to just to make it look good. And then obviously, you know how we are as creators, we love everything to be, not perfect, but look good at least.
You sweat the small stuff because you care.
Do you feel like in doing that, you're now kind of not experiencing life the way you should do?
I think sometimes, yeah. I think there's a quiet bliss to not being active on social media. I think there's so many pros to being on social media. Look, I'm coming from a biased space of I've worked at these social media companies, so I can see firsthand the opportunity it provides to creators and small businesses and just friends and family. But we know of the drawbacks and the toxic side of it. We know that how it can affect people's friendships and relationships and even just being present. So I think there's a quiet bliss when I see people that just don't care about social media that much and are just able to live their lives very happily. I think is nice. And I think for those people, they are wired a bit differently. If I was to go on holiday tomorrow, I know that I'd be thinking, okay, well, I'm going to take content. Other people might not think that. There's no right or wrong in this scenario. Again, I think it's just a question of what boundaries make sense for you. So if I'm going on a date night with my girlfriend, yeah, we might take a quick snap, together or of the venue. But other than that, we're doing our best to be present and to just spend quality time with one another. And that's not always easy, especially when, I'm creating content, she's a content creator as well, or if I'm out with my friends, we might want to create content. Other people just want to enjoy the dinner, enjoy the drinks, and they think, oh, why are you on your phone? So I think it's really important to have that balance and to be very self-aware and understand when something might be potentially harming your ability to give quality time to people and give quality time to things like work and other areas. Balance is different for everyone, so there's no one straight answer, but it's a very delicate balance to strike, and you've got to know what works for you and others.
Yeah. All right then, cool. So we're winding down. We've been talking for a long time. I don't want to stress you. I want you to relax tonight.
Yeah.
I think number one question we're always going to answer the Goodman Factory to end all interview. What is your definition of a good man?
I think a good man is someone who takes ownership of themselves, of their well-being, and of their future. I think a good man is somebody who's authentic and champions their own belief, their aspiration, and moves through their life every single day with their head held high.
Oh, that's beautiful. Honestly, your words have been amazing. I'm happy that you've come down to the studio today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, this has been long awaited. I appreciate you. You've supported us, doing a lot of content with us, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Goodman Factory. Thank you for your contribution, and I look forward to everyone seeing this conversation
100%.
Of Arts to Goodman. Let's first talk about Blacksmith London. Where could people get the products from?
Sure. So you can shop for Blacksmith London at blacksmithlondon.com. On Instagram, on TikTok, it's just at Blacksmith London. If you've got any questions or feedback, please let me know on any of those accounts, or otherwise you can DM me personally on @DannyNakvi, spelled Naqvi.
Oh, perfect. You see, you're a top creator. Look how you left out any potential errors. Like, this is how you spell Danny. This is how you spell it.
exactly.
And this is how you get to the website. And also, just to let the community know, this episode is sponsored by GoodmanFactory.com. Subscribe to our products to become a good man today. Have an amazing one. Bless up. Peace.
Amazing. Thank you so much.